Well, thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. In today's video, I will look at the Christmas to New Year period and even into the early portion of January. And we will talk about whether we're going to see snow or whether it will be a brown Christmas for many portions of the British Isles. But certainly as cold air filters south over North America, we're seeing milder lift in north over western portions of Europe. We've seen some very mild conditions indeed across parts of Spain, Portugal, France, and even into the Low Countries, the UK as well. Not really in much in the way of cold air at the moment. You have to go all the way up towards Russia for any true cold conditions. Different story, however, over on the other side of the Atlantic here. This is the temperatures currently for North America, and we have seen temperatures down as low as minus 52 Celsius in parts of Yukon and Alaska. Temperatures as of recording, of course, this would be kind of what mid morning across the United States, depending on what time zone you're on. But we do have widespread minus 30s and 40s in Alberta, British Columbia. We've got it across parts of Manitoba, and of course down into parts of Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota. We're seeing that the cold air sinking south. This will continue to dive south over the next several days here, and we could see some very extreme cold conditions for the time of the year, or any time of the year really, across parts of the southern half of the United States. But it is a video in which I want to talk about the Christmas period. Check out markvoganweather.com. I will send the link on the description below this video. But it's a very tough call, if I'm being honest with you, because what we've got is we've got a broken pattern now. This cold pattern has well and truly broke, and as we start to see the cold air flood North America, we're increasing the strength of the jet stream across the Atlantic. Albeit it is southerly displaced at the moment here, we still have a lot of blocking across the top. And of course, with a lot of cold air now drained into the mid-latitude pattern with a more Atlantic jet stream dominated pattern, you're kind of moving the mild and the warm air masses around. So the pattern becomes a lot more fluid in nature, and it can be very difficult to pinpoint the details, especially when you're talking about a given pattern on a given day. Is a very difficult call to make, and the forecast that I have now up on the website is going to be subject to a few minor tweaks here and there over the next couple of days. But what we've got here is this is the hemispheric view overlooking the pole, and we've got a strong jet stream diving down the west coast of North America, a very strong area of high pressure, 1060 millibars. That is a bona fide Arctic air mass that is going to slide down the chute into the central United States, and we could have snow and ice all the way to the Gulf Coast over the next few days with this type of pattern. But of course, as you drop this cold air, polar air south, you're building warmth a little bit more up towards the Baffin Straits between Canada and Greenland, forcing cold air south. Of course, you've got an undercutting jet here, very strong jet stream exiting North America, crossing over the heart of the Atlantic Ocean, and it's then going to make an approach on the British Isles from the south. And of course, this jet stream is going to have areas of low pressure developing along it, and the details of exactly how much milder becomes involved in the pattern versus how much colder is coming south over top of that northward, that cold push from the north, and downstream effects of what's going on over North America. This is a complicated pattern, and like I say, it's a tough call to make when it comes to what the outcome is going to be for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and of course Boxing Day. But basically, I'll skim through the article and we'll have a wee look and see what's going on. So the North Atlantic Oscillation is going back to neutral. It already is. It looks as if it could go positive for a time. And the reason why is it's the effects of what's going on over North America that's strengthening the jet stream, and therefore we've got a more Atlantic dominated weather pattern. But the Arctic Oscillation is still firmly negative, so therefore we've got the blocking over the top, We've got a lot of cold air within the mid-latitude pattern. So this is where it's becoming difficult to pinpoint the timing of areas of low pressure coming in, how much mild air is associated with that, how much cold air is on the backside and whatnot. That is the big reason for the high uncertainty in the forecast. But why have we changed the overall pattern? That goes down to the Mont-Julian oscillation. Now, it went in through, if you look at the time frame here, 27th of November through the 11th of December, that's when, of course, the colder hit. It peaked week 2, now it's starting to leave week 3. This is going almost bang on with the forecast that I had out for the month of December, that we would have the cold coming in. It would be a significant, noteworthy cold spell, probably the coldest period for the month of December since 2010. That, of course, didn't materialize. And then, of course, we're seeing it leaving once again. And the reason why is because we're seeing the pulse of enhanced convection within the tropics rotating out of phase 781, which delivered the blocking, delivered the cold pattern. Now it's rotating through the Indian Ocean phases of 2 and 3 into 4, into 5. That is less conducive phases for cold weather across Europe. That also is combined with the WPO, or the Western Pacific Oscillation, and the Eastern Pacific Oscillation. Both of those went negative, combining with the Mont-Julian Oscillation 781. That, of course, set the stage for the cold pattern that we've seen. But the EPO, WPO is going back positive, and that is less conducive combined with the Mont-Julian Oscillation here. So you can see here it's rotating in through the Indian Ocean, in through the continental maritime region. And that is the reason why we're seeing the pattern change. And unfortunately, folks, for cold weather lovers, and again, this is part of the forecast that I had out for both the winter forecast and the December forecast, that we would see the cold pulling out before Christmas. And with the Mont-Julian Oscillation being the way it is at the moment, EPO, WPO, and whatnot, and of course, I've not really spoken much about the stratospheric polar vortex. The reason why is because it is strengthening, and that means that it all suggests to me that we will stay largely milder than normal. But of course, with the Arctic Oscillation being negative, heading towards neutral, colder in the pattern, jet stream winds, areas of low pressure can deliver significant back and forth swings in temperature. Mild ahead of these systems, cold in the backside. You can still get snowy conditions, cold in normal conditions, in an Atlantic driven pattern with a positive North Atlantic oscillation, especially when you've got the Arctic Oscillation negative. So this is a complicated setup here, nothing clear cut. Upcoming 5 days, this is off the GFS ensemble. It pretty much represents the phases of the Mont-Julian Oscillation, being, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is pretty much what happens here. Notice here that the 6 to 10 day period, we do have colder conditions trying to filter in into the northern half of the British Isles and also Ireland as well. But much of Europe is warmer than normal here. So therefore, it's because we've got colder involved in the pattern. We've got colder coming south over North America. These areas of low pressure can pull the Arctic air across the Atlantic and deliver the cold conditions to the British Isles. So kind of a return polar maritime flow is quite often the case. And then, of course, the 11 to 15 day, which takes us through the new year and into the first 4 days of January, it's looking, on the whole, warmer than average here. That being said, however, the ECMWF forecast for the Mont-Julian Oscillation actually takes it back into favourable phases once again. So notice here, between the 23rd, 24th, we're in phase 7, through Christmas Day, Boxing Day, the 27th, and then on into the new year. It's actually, the ECMWF is actually showing it entering phases 7 and into 8, even into 1. So nothing is written in stone here, folks. So that is going to be something that we need to keep a close eye on. What do I think is going to happen with regards to Christmas? So I'm not going to read this word for word. Do read it at your leisure. I think on the whole, based on the current model runs, which of course are definitely going to chop and change, the overall outcome is that an area of low pressure will be positioned to the northwest of the British Isles around Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. That position to the northwest would likely indicate that the bulk of the UK is in milder air and less conducive, low level chances of snowfall across the bulk of the British Isles Christmas Eve through the majority of Christmas Day. The question mark is where exactly that centre is positioned, how quickly it then moves away from the UK, and how much colder do we get on the backside of that system. These are details that I cannot pinpoint at the moment here, but I'm going to make this kind of call myself at this moment, Wednesday, 21st of December, that I think the majority of the British Isles, out with the Highlands, will have a non white Christmas. You can see here off the GFS that at 1800 UTC on the 25th Christmas Day, we do have colder air wrapping around the backside of this area of low pressure. Remember what's going on in North America? That jet stream is going to be pulling some of that cold out over the Atlantic. Warmer than normal Atlantic, of course, it washes out a lot of the potency of the cold air that comes out of Canada. And then GFS indicates by midnight Christmas into Boxing Day, we've got the cold air digging in. We may see an increased chance of heavy snowfall across parts of the Highlands. It's marginal chances down further, central lowlands, any low-lying areas. I think there's a low chance of seeing snow at the moment. Snow depth chart off the GFS looks like this for midday Christmas. This is the ECMWF. Again, centre of low pressure, either northwest or west of the British Isles. That leaves us in the mild sector as we go into Christmas Day, and therefore low chances of seeing snow. Then, very similar to the GFS, that system exits. We've got colder air coming in, but it looks as if even at 1800 on Christmas Day, we don't really have any true cold air coming in just at this time frame here. It's really not until we get into the midnight period, sorry, Christmas Day into Boxing Day, we've got colder air starting to dig in. So I think snow chances increase, but at high levels. This is the snow depth chart according to the model ECMWF on the 25th at the 1500. The arpege model looks like this here. Got a little bit more of a sniff at snow. Notice here across southern Scotland, high parts of the north of England. Icon model, very little in the way of snowfall overall. This is the GFS ensemble probability of snow falling at midday on Christmas Day. Actually has reasonably high chances if you notice here over northern Scotland. Now, as I mentioned in the article, I go on to say that there is an increased chance of seeing snowfall across more areas at lower levels later Boxing Day and into the 27th. There's quite a good consensus in the models indicating that we have a greater chance of seeing some snow and much colder air filtering in on the backside of these areas of low pressure. So we'll watch this space. I think it's going to be an up and down period, week between Christmas and New Year, and then beyond that, a firmly Atlantic driven pattern at this moment in time takes us into the new year. I'm afraid that the polar vortex, you might as well forget about that. At this moment, there is very little in the way of indication that that is going anywhere near sudden stratospheric warming levels over the next couple of weeks, at least anyway. So that's it for today. I do appreciate you watching this stunning image. Credit to Highland Weather. Lee does a great job tweeting plenty of information, and he's got, of course, that terrific weather station network across not only the Highlands but across other parts of the UK as well. So credit to him. So thanks for also supplying this photograph. So have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll hopefully be back in the next day or so with more. Please like, please share, and hit that subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching.